Here I'll talk about critical discourse analysis and educational discourses. The discourses about the field of education and various aspects of education, for example, education institutions and various agencies who are dealing with education in a society. In the beginning, I'll just introduce what it is about. Critical discourse analysis has gained much popularity in education research recently, and we can say there is a kind of multiple times increase in the research in the field of critical discourse analysis based on educational discourses. A quick survey in front of you can probably reflect this situation in a better manner. For example, we can say that according to Rogers, there were only 46 articles published between 1983 and 2005, and we can say that it may not be a very popular area of research in relation to critical discourse analysis during this era. But recently, in last 8 years, there have been total 257 articles which were published on CDA and education in various parts of the world, including Pakistan and other Asian countries also. Uh, One of the most remarkable and interesting area of investigation in critical discourse studies recently is the one which has been inspired by education, educational policies, or educational institutions. In other words, the discourses about all these things. There has been a great trend of conferences in this field also, and the educational related critical discourse analysis, various articles based on this have been presented in these conferences also. CDA, as I said a while ago, is becoming very popular in relation to educational discourses. So that's why we can see more conferences or conference papers reflecting on this possible aspect of critical discourse analysis. And it also involves scholarship from other areas of investigation, for example, political science, sociology, and legal studies. Educational researchers from different regions of the world are turning to CDA to describe uh, and interpret some kind of interaction or relationships between educational institutions, their policies, uh, their practices, and societal narratives. How societal narratives influence the practices of education institutions, or in other words, the vice versa, how education institutions, their policies, their narratives change the societal narratives. This can be a very interesting study, and this could be conducted from multiple perspectives, because the narratives of education institutions may not be all the time delivered outwardly or directly. Rather, they may be hidden in their syllabus, their curriculums, etc., etc. So this study can not only be investigated through their public mission statements, their policy documents, but may also be uh, studied through their hidden documents, for example, curriculums and other things. And there are a range of studies from all across the world. For example, from Australia we have cattle study, from Europe we have Martins, and from Latin America we have Costa and Sreva, who studied in these fields. And there are also researches about formal and informal classroom interactions, educational policies, textbooks, children's literature, and representation of education in the media and in various forms of public discourse. So, and the popular frameworks which have been used in these studies about educational discourses have been those presented by Fairclough, and Von Dijk. Uh, in these studies, according to Rogers, and in a very recent work, he says that according to Rogers, it has been furthered that mostly the bottom up forces have been highlighted, or bottom up approach has been used, in which the teachers and the pupils or the learners across educational sites have been investigated from multiple sources rather, uh, or on the other hand, the top down forces associated with oppression and injustice have not been that significantly addressed or investigated, which can be a kind of suggestion that these forces hidden in education discourses should be emphasized upon, and that could probably, as we know, can serve the purpose of CDA more clearly as compared to the bottom up approach. The researchers have also highlighted how racism and anti-racism in education practices can be studied under the aegis of critical discourse analysis. For example, the analysis of an interracial alliance between teacher education students contributes or can contribute to a broadened view of critical discourse analysis, in which we can see that we can generate a discourse in educational settings which can be anti-racial, which can be more democratic, more constructive and generative, instead of and contributing to the society instead of demarcating or divisive on the other hand. So, this is a very welcoming development that recently there have been more studies in critical discourse analysis which are related to educational discourses.